Hello everyone, welcome to History Chips, the podcast where we break down big historical events into bite-sized chips. I'm Anne, your host today, and we're going to dive into a fascinating and frankly and pretty messed up chapter event in history. Can you guess what is that? Yep, that's the Opium Wars. Do you know that? Do you know Opium Wars? Um, Now you might be thinking about what opium is. What's the deal with opium? Well, get ready because the story has it all: international intrigue, drug smuggling, and even the empire squeezing. And the first thing, what opium is? Do you know that? So opium is basically a dried sap from poppy flowers. I know it sounds kinda harmless, right? But this stuff is so powerful. It acts on your nervous system, relieving pain and creating a sense of calm on your mind. Then the problem with opium, it's because opium is highly addictive. Like seriously, opium is very addictive. Like narcotic. And it's been used for both medicine and unfortunately for recreational purpose for thousands of years and centuries in the world. Since ancient times, in traditional Chinese medicine, it was even used to treat things like diarrhea and painkiller. So, basically, I have watched a YouTube video related to our topic today. If you guys wanna search for it for the video, the title is Great Britain versus China: History of Opium Wars. So, you know how sometimes you watch a video and it just clicks. It really helps you get a complex historical event. Well, that's exactly how I felt after watching that video. The Great Britain versus China, the history of Opium War video. What I really interested about the video is how it doesn't just throw some yapping fact at you. It really tells a chronological story. You really get a sense of how things spiral step by step from those initial trade imbalance all the way to outright war and its devastating aftermath. It's really not just a dry timeline. It explains the economic hunger that drove Britain at absolute human cost of opium addiction in China, and the way how they focus on the key figure, the person, and the specific timeline. If you haven't seen it, seriously, go check it out. Go watch the video. But if you're not kinda long video enjoyers, stay tuned on this video until the end, since I'm gonna tell you about the opium wars in very shortly. Imagine this. The 18th century in Europe, especially Britain, is obsessed with Chinese goods such as tea, silk, porcelain, and they couldn't get enough. But how about China? They weren't really interested in buying much from Europe. They were really self-sufficient about it. This created this created a huge trade imbalance. Britain was spending a ton of silver to get those Chinese goods. So, what did the British do? They're pretty clever actually, but it's also not a good way. So basically, they found a sneaky and incredibly destructive way to balance the market. It's opium. You see, the British East India Company controlled a huge amount of poppy fields in India. They started smuggling opium to China, even though the Qing dynasty has banned it way back in 1729. This illegal trade boomed, and the consequences were devastating in China. Millions of Chinese became addicted to the opium. This wasn't just a this wasn't become just a health crisis. It was a societal one. It drained China's silver reserves, fueled corruption, and weakened the entire country. In 1839, Emperor Daguan sent an official named Lin Zexu to Canton. in this modern day it's called Guangzhou, to shut down this opium trade for good among Chinese. Then Zhu was serious. He confiscated over 20,000 chests of opium from British merchants. That's uh, a lot of drug actually, and he dumped it all to the sea. Now you can imagine how the British reacted about that. They were furious. They saw this as a direct attack on their sovereignty and their precious trade profit, and that was the spark that ignited the First Opium War. The Second Opium War. The second, the Second Opium War followed from 1856 to 1860. In this time, France joined the British against China. And how about the trigger? So it basically because of some of things, such as the Arrow ship incident, where British ship smuggling was detained by China, and the murder of French missionary. By 1857, China was in the talk spot. They signed the Treaty of Tianjin, but they dragged their feet on actually following it because the fighting still continued, culminating in the British looting in the Chinese village in 1860. Opium wars had a huge and terrible impact on China, such as weakened sovereignty because China was forced to open up more and more ports, and losing control of its own trade. And then territorial losses because Hong Kong is loose from China, and then war fines, and then legalized opium trade, which made the addiction of opium become the way worse among Chinese. This defeat crushed the Qing dynasty's reputation and fueled internal rebellions and political instability among Chinese. The Opium Wars are often seen as the start of China's century of humiliation, a time when they were forced to accept unfair treaties and submit to Western countries. It was such a dark period for them, marked by foreign influence and their devastating effect of legalized opium. It's a story of power, greed, and the tragic consequences of addiction, and it's a reminder of how trade and politics can have a profound impact on human life. Um, what do you think, guys, about today's history clips? Don't you think this is interesting? Don't forget to share your opinion on column comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more historical clips video. That's all for today's history tips. I hope you found this video about the Opium War was informative for you. Join me next time as we unpack another fascinating moment and history from our past. I'm Anne, host today. Thank you for watching my video. Bye.